subscriber of the channel has challenged me to try out comparison guitars. And it's going to be an interesting one because I've never heard of this brand before. So in today's Squealing Pig Guitars video, I'm trying out comparison for the first time. And by the end of the video, we're going to find out whether this Gibson fanboy can be swayed by this shreddy Japanese brand. So sit back and relax, and let's get straight into this shreddy Squealing Pig Guitars episode. So for the very first time, I've got a comparison Horus model in my hand, and I have to say, this thing looks insane. I'm a big fan of this finish. This is the moon finish, and my preconception is I love the way it looks. We've got an ebony fingerboard on this one. I believe that's the company's logo on the inlays as well, and we've got a bit of a mayonnaise style neck. But visually speaking, I love the way this looks. The neck feels a little bit like a mayonnaise, especially with the headstock, and then the body's a bit more Ibanez feeling. So firstly, let's talk about the guitar's price tag. This guitar will come in around £3,500. So it's definitely not a cheap shred machine. I do notice that we have a hot rail pickup in this one, which I'm not personally a massive fan of, so we'll see how that sounds in the demo. I've also just noticed that these are comparison own brand pickups, so obviously I've never tried them before, so we'll have to see what they sound like. So yeah, my preconception is that it'll play incredibly. It should stay in tune nicely. I think it'll be a little bit limited in terms of the tones, as we only have one volume and a three-way switch, but I think it'll do everything you need for a shred guitar. But before we plug this bad boy in, let's talk about the backstory of Comparison. So who are Comparison Guitars? Comparison Guitars are a Japanese high-end guitar company, best known for making extremely refined, modern shred machines. They were founded in Japan in 1995 by Ataro Kano, who had previously worked in the Japanese division of Jackson Charvel. The whole idea behind Comparison was to provide the professional guitar player with a guitar that he actually needs, trying to make a more refined, ergonomic shred machine for the technical player. Instead of just copying a Strat or Les Paul body shape, they decided to go for their own distinctive designs. When I was researching for this video, I found out that there's a British connection with this Japanese brand. In 2011, Comparison were going through a few financial difficulties, and the company was taken over by Comparison Guitar Company Limited, which is based in the UK, but the guitars are still made in Japan. But all this talking has got me extremely excited to try out this Comparison model. So without further ado, let's plug it into my Marshall Silver Jubilee and make some noise. So guitarists, it's time to hear this Comparison guitar in action. For today's episode, I'm using the Marshall Silver Jubilee amplifier. As you can see to my right here, it's going into a 212 cabinet and it's the 100-watt version. This should sound massive in the room, so let's hear the bridge pickup on heavy gain mode. Let's hear this thing. Oh my god, I love the sound of this guitar going through the Marshall Silver Jubilee. That bridge pickup has that classic 80s sound. And the guitar's build quality is really good. The way I describe it so far, it's like a mix between mayonnaise and Ibanez. The neck feels more like mayonnaise, and then the build quality of the body and the way it kind of attaches to the neck feels a bit more like Ibanez. But that's a very cool bridge pickup. Now let's hear the neck pickup. So the neck pickup has quite an interesting sound. It's kind of some sort of compromise between a humbucker and a single coil. Obviously it's a hot rail, so it's a small format humbucker, and that's why we're getting a bit more brightness. Personally, I'm not a massive fan of the neck pickup on this guitar, but I think the bridge pickup sounds incredible. Now let's hear the middle position. In the middle position as well, you can get some really nice clean tones, and thanks to the Marshall Silver Jubilee, I've been able to clean it up quite nicely on that overdrive channel. My only criticism with this guitar is that it does fall out of tune a little bit. I don't know if that's how we've got it set up, or if that's something that could be improved. I've definitely had to tune it a little bit more than the average guitar, which is a bit of a shame, but the whole playability and experience of playing this guitar is amazing. But you'll have to wait till the end of this video to get my full review of this guitar. But let's move on. So now it's time to talk about the spec of this Caparison Horus model. This is version 2 Horus, and it's finished in the Moonstone finish, which I'm a massive fan of. It's a high gloss guitar with some lovely ergonomic curves. The body construction is mahogany and a maple top on this one. And then we have a 5-piece neck on this one that's maple and walnut. We have an ebony fingerboard with some really beautiful inlays and ivory binding. Of course, the Horus is known for its 27 fret neck. We have a Schala floating tremolo, and we have Schala tuners on this one. The controls are very simple, got a 3-way switch, which feels a little bit cheap in my opinion, and then we have 1 volume. And as I mentioned previously, we have a set of Caparison pickups. The bridge is the PHR, and the hot rail in the neck is called the SH-27F. As I mentioned previously, I think this guitar looks beautiful. I'm a big fan of the headstock. It's got a bit of a mayonnaise vibe to it, and I really like the kind of black satin finish on the top there. I think that looks really cool. I believe these inlays as well are the logo of the company, which I think is a pretty cool measure. But yeah, that finish is just so unique, so striking. But that's everything that goes into this model. So what other models do Caparison make? Of course, in today's episode, we're featuring probably their most iconic design, which is the Horus, and it's famous for its 27 fret neck. I'd say their second most popular guitar is the Dellinger, which is it's more of a traditional super strat style guitar. Again, designed for fast and technical playing, but it has a bit more flexibility as it has single coil pickups and a humbucker. Then you have the Tat and the Tat Special. This is a modern neck through design with a much more aggressive aesthetic. They also have their own flying V shape, which is called the Orbit. And then finally, they have the Angelus. What I have noticed with Caparison is that all their guitars seem quite unique, whether that's with inlays, headstock designs. It's a unique brand, and the guitars look different to others that are on the market. But I still haven't made up my mind completely about this Caparison guitar. So I'm gonna stand up and play one more song for you guys so I can make my final decision. So guitarists, it's the end of another Squealing Pig Guitars video. I really hope you've enjoyed this shreddy one today. If you have, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video, hit the hype points button, and let me know your thoughts about Caparison guitars in the comments section below. And finally, if you're new to Squealing Pig Guitars, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers, and we could definitely use your help. So hit that big red subscribe button if you haven't already. So let's conclude this video. So going into this video, I knew that this guitar was gonna feel a little bit like an Ibanez, maybe more like a Mayonnaise if it was a high-end kind of shred machine. And that's exactly how I describe it. It's basically a Mayonnaise neck with an Ibanez body. The guitar itself plays really nicely, and I really like the sound going through the Marshall Silver Jubilee. The only criticism I have is that the tuning was a little off in areas. I had to tune it quite a lot in today's episode. But I'm a massive fan of the visual elements of this guitar, and I think it worked nicely. The bridge humbucker in particular has a beautiful mid-range and really encapsulates that 80s sound. The neck pickup, again, I wasn't a massive fan of, but that's just more of a general thing I have with hot rail pickups. I'm not a massive fan of the way they sound. So I've definitely been impressed by this Japanese brand today. I don't think they're better than Mayonnaise guitars or Ibanez guitars for that matter, but I do think they make some really cool shreddy guitars. So that being said, let's rate this Caparison guitar. So let's talk about aesthetic straight away. So this is probably the strongest part of this guitar. I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. I really like this kind of moon finish that they've got going on. I thought the ebony fingerboard looked incredible, and I'm a big fan of the headstock and the inlays. Also from the back, you have that natural kind of mayonnaise-like plied neck, which looks beautiful. For playability and tone, again, this is a very strong point around the guitar. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I'm gonna drop a point because of the tuning stability. I found especially when I was standing up and doing the performance sections that the guitar would come in and out of tune. And listening back to Rest in Peace, the last performance I did, although I was happy with that take, there was a few notes that were, coming and going. Obviously that will be down to my playing as well as the guitar, but it was definitely coming in and out of tune at times. I also thought the tone was really good, but I wasn't a massive fan of the neck pickup. So I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10 for playability and tone. So for value, I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. This is mainly because of the price of these models. So they come in around £3,500, which isn't the most expensive guitar out there. It's a competitive price, but you're still gonna be against Ibanez and all the big brands at that price point. Yes, it's a little bit cheaper than Mayonnaise and other boutique guitars, but it's still a fair bit of money. For that cash, I'd expect the guitar to stay in tune a little bit better, but I do think the overall quality of the guitar is in line with everything that we see from the Japanese factories. And finally, for collectability, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10. I was looking on the second-hand market, and a lot of these guitars drop in price after being bought new. That shows that there's not a massive collector market for these guitars, and there's not great resale value with them. It does mean, though, that you can pick up a good deal if you wanted to get one of these cheap. So here's the final score for the comparison. But that is all for today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. My name is Ben Keightley, this is Squealing Pig Guitars, and I'll see you again shortly for another video. But until then, keep rocking, guys. I'll see you soon.